So we're going to do a zigzag finish for our seam. So all we're going to be using is we're going to be stitching through the seam allowance only. I'm not going all the way through. So what we need to do is we need to fold back everything else to one side so that we're just working with the seam allowance. So we're just going to be working on this side to start off with, and then when we've done that side we're going to flip it and then we're going to work on the other side. Okay, so what I would suggest is, so you've got your seam allowance and that's all we're working on. So this is the way that you would see. So imagine it's a pair of trousers. This is the way you would see it. So this is the inside of the fabric, and this is your seam allowance, and this is where your zigzag's going to run down. So I would suggest working that way. So you'd fold your seam allowance, fold your excess back so you're still looking at the right side of the seam allowance. That's the way you're going to stitch down, rather than working on the wrong side of the seam allowance. I hope that makes sense. So off we go with the sewing machine. So we're going to go for the zigzag. So I've set my machine to a equal zigzag, so the length and the width are the same. I'm going to start off with my needle in, and I've lined my foot up so the edge of the foot is to the stitch line. So I'm just going to stitch straight down. I'm not going to do a back stitch at the beginning and the end because another seam will intersect it, or the seam would be finished with a hem or a waistband would go on. So I'm just going to leave that because you don't want too much bulk. Now I'm just going to run it off to the end. And then I'm going to flip it round and I'm going to do the other side exactly the same. So I've gone from that side, and then I'm going to move everything, all the other material, all the bulk to the other side, ready to sew, and then I'm going to bring it back round and I'm actually going to line it up in exactly the same place. Again, no back stitch at the beginning or the end. I'm just going to run it straight through.